how to manage users in a department module. This applies to SP Marketplace products that are based on a department. This is generic departments, IT, HR, facilities, customer service, and safety. Okay, so let's first of all look at the user roles that are defined in a consistent way across all these departments. First of all, the top role is the administrator. This is the person that is controlling the application, that actually manages the application out there. They have full control to change the application, to get at any data, that type of thing, and also do user management, adding users, and so on. The second role is department staff. This is the actual people working in the function, working in IT or HR. And they are the ones that are actually using the staff portal part of the portal out there. And they have a little less permissions. They can contribute. They can add documents. They can add service requests, change service requests. So they have the ability to contribute content and data into it, but they can't change the application. Okay, and so they really are using the application within their function. And then the third level is employees or customers, those people that are visiting the department and really are locked into the service portal side of that department. These may be customers, could be employees. Most of the times it's employees. And they have a read-only level of permissions. This means they can't go in and change information, except if they're submitting new things like a service request out there. And then it is actually limited to them seeing only their submissions. So those are the three roles in any department. Now, one of the confusing things in version 15 or later is that there are actually two types of user security in the application. There is Office 365 groups, okay, and this is what's behind Teams. So when you see the members up in the right-hand side, that is the Office 365 group. And then there is SharePoint permissions. And this is more granular permissions. This is where you can actually put in that this is a staff person or a manager person or so on. Office 365 groups really just limits you to owners, members, and visitors, which is really not granular enough for most applications. So we're going to take a look at this. This actually complicates a little bit adding users and taking away users because you have to do it in two different places. So let's look at what this looks like, and it's going to be a little more complex than it probably needs to be. But when we put in a new product, let's say we're installing the IT product, we install it on top of a SharePoint team site. Okay, and a SharePoint team site is a SharePoint site. It's actually a site collection, as it used to be called. So it's installed there. The next step, and this is optional, but most organizations do it, is to what we call groupify the site. And there's a separate video on this about how this is done. And it then becomes a SharePoint group site. Now what that means is now you've added this separate security level. It's the Office 365 groups. Now this is actually what's behind an MS Team. And so you can choose to use it just as the SharePoint group site, or you can connect it to a Microsoft team, and it still remains the same security group. It's just now that you can view it through a team, and that this site actually is the home site for the team, and that's where documents will be stored and so on, is in this SharePoint site, but it will be under files in Teams. So if we take a look at what this means for roles, number one, in SharePoint itself, okay, this is at the administrative level, there's really two types of roles. There's the site collection administrator, that's the site administrator, and a staff member becomes a member of a SharePoint site. This is done automatically. You don't have to worry about this unless you're adding new administrators there. And even this is you'll see is taken care of. Now, our products actually have their own SharePoint security groups. We have a administrator group called SP admin. Okay, and you want to make sure that your administrator is added to that. Okay, and in fact, if you're watching this, you're probably the administrator. Then we need a way to separate who is staff members of this department and who is everyone else, because the staff members will have access to some of the more secure type things that are only allowed to be seen by the staff there, and then everyone else is in the employees. Once you make it a group, Office 365 adds 3 different levels too. The administrator is known as an owner, the staff member is a member, and the employee becomes a visitor in here. And this is, again, the employee part of this is actually automatically taken care of, so you don't have to worry about this. Most of the time you'll just be adding staff members, and that's what we're going to be concentrating on here. Now when you make it an MS team, the owner here is the same owner here, and the members here are the same members here. You don't get the chance to actually do this read-only visitor thing, but it's already set up for it here. So you won't see this when you're managing a team. So these are the names of the groups in the different areas. So now with that, you're probably totally confused, but let's just go see how you use this to add a new staff member. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go through and do it. Now I've included a slide here that kind of goes through the steps that I will be doing. I won't cover this, on the slide here. Let's actually watch me do it. This slide deck is also available as part of the documentation. So adding a new department staff member really is done in 2 parts. You first have to add the user to the Office 365 group. Let's take a look at that. To add the member to the 365 group, you click on the cog, you go to Site Permissions, and then you just click Invite People. And I'm going to add members to the group. I'm going to go ahead and add Donna to the group. So I go in and type in Donna, it finds her, and I say save. And that's all there is to adding Donna to the Office 365 group. And on this slide, you can see that we've laid it out step by step. Now let's go take a look at part 2 here. And now you have to add to the SharePoint group. Again, we have these 2 groups because the Office 365 group does not get granular enough to actually have granular permissions. So we use SharePoint to actually do that. And if you were to customize and have, say, a manager's group or something like that, you'd want to use SharePoint to do that. So here are the step-by-step on how to do that, and let's go watch. Now here I am back at my department site. I'm going to go ahead and click on the cog, go to Site Permissions, and this time instead of using this, I'm going to go to Advanced Permission Settings. This will take us to the SharePoint site settings. And you have to be the SharePoint administrator as well as an owner of this site to be able to do this. Now what it presents to us is the different groups in SharePoint. You can see also that there's finance members and owners. This is corresponding to the Office 365 groups. But we see finance staff. And we also see SPMP admin. You're probably in that group if you're the administrator. So let's go to finance staff, click on that, and this will allow us to add somebody to this group. So I could go in and say I want to add users to this group. I can type in Donna and hit share. And now Donna has been added to the group. So that's all there is to adding to a SharePoint group, and I'll just go back and hit my icon here, and it will take me back to the department site. So that's all there is to adding somebody as well. And again, here's the step-by-step. It's super important. You have to do part 1 and part 2, or else some functions of the products will not work, such as audiences on menus, the redirects, and so on. They have to be in the SharePoint permission group for those things to work. So let's go further and see now how to reverse this. And really it is just reversing the process here. And so we're going to remove a person from the group, and then we're going to remove them from the SharePoint group. So here I am. I've got, again, the finance department up. I can either click on site permissions to remove somebody, or I can actually just click on the members here. And we see all the members, and you see this drop down, and we'd say remove from group, and that will remove Donna. I'm not going to do that because I'd like Donna to stay in the group. But you also have to do it from the SharePoint group. So we go up to, again, site permissions, just work backwards. Again, going to advanced permission settings, we select finance staff. And this time, I actually select Donna across from here, go to actions, and say remove users from the group. And that will remove Donna, and then again we go back to the department. So that's all there is. It is important you do both steps.